Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Wednesday, July 20th, 2:00. Welcome. First item is approval of our agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? Thank you. Any additions, or are we happy with it? If we are, entertain a motion to adopt it. Moved by? Moved by Dominic, second by Duncan. Please call the vote, Catherine.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Justin Pennings,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Marks.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Next item is adoption of the minutes. Hope everyone's had a chance to take a look at them. Are there any errors, omissions? With a motion for that to adopt them? Please read it
Resolves that the minutes of the meeting held June 29th, 2022 be adopted.
and call the vote, please.
Move in second.
Oh, mover and second, that help.
I'll move.
And Justin. Call the vote now, please. Thank you.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Justin Pennings,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Marks.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
All right, I'd like to remind everyone of disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. And I note none. Thank you. We have no delegations. Briefings, connectivity advocacy plan. I think Delaney, you're taking this. Please go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee. Just an update on the Connectivity Committee advocacy plan that went before the committee at the last meeting. A few tweaks since then. So moving into the first pillar, which is communications and engagement. Again, we've changed the first column from objectives to outcomes so that we can better measure our success. So the first drafted suggestion was that the activities and efforts of the Connectivity Committee are communicated in an accessible manner that intentionally reaches an audience, which includes Elgin residents, prospective residents, current and prospective ISPs, other levels of government, and the broader public. There's now also a suggested change that the wording be the public, current and prospective ISPs, other levels of government, and the broader public are aware of the county's connectivity efforts and prioritization. Information about goals, gaps, initiatives, and progress is easily accessible by all stakeholders. So that would go in the outcomes column if approved. The actions and responsibility columns remain the same as in the first draft that went before the committee at the June 29th meeting. Moving on in the communications and engagement pillar, the second suggested outcome would be that advocacy efforts include real resident experiences and reflect an accurate local context as a key means of attracting ISP and funder support. Again, that's tied to actions and staff responsibilities that are consistent with the last suggested plan. The third updated point under this pillar is that staff establish and maintain a public repository of Elgin-specific connectivity data for use by staff and the committee. And there is another suggested change for that point to rephrase to say, an up-to-date public repository of Elgin-specific connectivity data is available for use by staff and the committee. So I think at last meeting, we had kind of broken it down by pillar. So if we want to take a pause now to just discuss the suggested changes to the outcome column in the communications and engagement pillar, we can take any feedback now for that section.
Thank you, Delaney. Any comments? Suggestions? Questions? Go ahead, Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yes, I think I was the one who, at the last meeting, was advocating to add a column or modify the column that was there in terms of outcome statements. So I really, really appreciate that that's been done. And I know it's always tricky to move away from action and to focus on the end result. So I also endorse the some of the additional tweaking that is being suggested. I think that would make it really clear as to what we will measure, throughout the implementation of the advocacy plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominique. Further comments? All right, do you want to continue?
Sure, thanks so much. Again, through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee, the second pillar would be leadership and relationship building. So the new suggested outcome for the first section is that the connectivity committee and staff routinely and proactively pursue opportunities to streamline the approval process for new broadband projects. With a tweak suggested that the approval process of broadband infrastructure projects is streamlined and balances risks, responsibilities, and efficiency. The county's policies and procedures are considered best practice by other jurisdictions and ISPs. Again, actions and staff commitments remain the same from last month's presentation. The second point for outcomes suggested that Elgin County is clearly established and recognized as the lead for advancing rural broadband efforts. And third, Elgin County both maintains and seeks opportunities for relationships with members of the public, large and small ISPs, and other levels of government regarding broadband, with a suggested change being Elgin County has dynamic relationships and active communication channels with all levels of government involved in connectivity matters, ISPs both large and small, and with the public. County staff and the committee are readily informed of opportunities and needs, and vice versa. So that concludes the second pillar. We'll open it up for any comments or suggestions.
Comments? Questions? I have one. I like the fact that we have been on a bit of a journey, but firmly believe that we are making it easier for the ISPs to do business. That is a county, but we'll also have 7 lower tier, and not all of them may be ours. I think there's still obstacles out there, and maybe we need to help spread them. We can't tell the lower municipalities what to do. But it'd be nice if that respecting all our equipment, all our roads and assets, but if we're convinced we can do it in an easier way, we need to make it as easy as we can to do business. I don't think that's gone through to all lower tiers yet. Without offending people, can we?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we have to do, and maybe this is something that Brian could put some thought around, is a lot of people are afraid of the unknown, and you have your regular road supervisors meetings with all the lower tiers. And I mean, if there's going to be a concern, that's the group that's going to have the concern, and certainly through discussions that maybe that can be a topic that you can have with your road superintendents at their meeting, of saying, okay, guys, in broadband, we'll take use of our road networks. What are your concerns that you have regarding fiber being put down your roads? And find out is there any concerns from the road superintendents. If they have no concerns, then it's a political issue that, again, we have to deal with that a little bit different. And so, before we find out who is on site, who isn't on site, I think it might have to start with Brian. Have him do some investigating and see what's going on.
Well, when we talked from the consultants and figure of a tower, $250,000. If you have a water tower, again, we have to be respectful of the assets, so we're not putting it in any danger, but if it's can be used, that's a huge saving. And I think the public need that. I think that's an excellent idea. Brian could take that message back that if there's an unknown, that we're the ones that talk to the consultants.
And I think you'll have to be the conduit from this committee back to the road authorities as to what's going on, and certainly from our leadership here at the county, lots of times that's a comfort level that the other lower tier municipalities can use as a template to make these happen as seamless as they possibly can.
Further comments, questions?
Thanks so much. Moving on to the third pillar, which is advocacy, a slight change to from objective to outcome, being that Elgin County receives funding for rural broadband projects and has the ability to distribute it in a way that best meets local needs. And that is the sole suggested outcome for that pillar. So we're open to any feedback or comments on that, but it seems to summarize kind of the main objective of the entire plan.
Okay. Any discussion?
The question now, yes, we're saying that we need money. That's a given. What kind of comfort level do we give to the people that are dispersing money, that we do have the expertise to decide how best to spend that money? Or will that, what accompanying document will go along with that? Because I know that anybody that's giving you money wants justification, and I don't think at this given point in time do we have the ability to do that.
Well, we would certainly figure it out, but I think that your suggestion is a good one, and one that we'll take into consideration in order to come up with kind of a one pager if needed, so that it, in one way it forces our team to give some thought into how we would administer this, but also helps us realize what the gaps are. So we'll certainly take that back and do some work and have some conversations around that. I'm glad you brought it forward.
Mr. Chair, if I may, through you to staff, I know at the last meeting, we hesitated to put specific timelines for achieving those outcomes, which I think is fine to have that flexibility. Should we agree on sort of the frequency of a progress report, both on activities and outcomes? What would be reasonable and useful?
We're here to support the committee, so I'm interested to hear first from the committee what your expectations would be, and then I can provide some guidance as to whether it's reasonable on our end.
Connectivity remains top priority of this council. Reality is council's term is ending soon. I certainly hope the next council will still be top priority. We heard in the last provincial election, it was top priority for them. And hopefully they remain committed to that. It's still very new for them, so they're still finding their way. But
So I don't, is quarterly reasonable, like sort of balancing again the capacity, but also making sure there's momentum, and because I think some of the items and some of the outcomes are already in either have been achieved or we've made some progress. It would be nice to recognize that and publish that as well. So I don't know how quarterly sounds.
I think it's an excellent suggestion.
I would even double down, Mr. Chair, and say that when we have committee meetings, could almost be part of a standing agenda item, whereby we can provide you with a status update on all of the items, recognizing that, of course, that some may have no action. But we can give you some, even if they're quick updates on where we stand with some others.
We want to keep the momentum going. You know, there's going to be a change in council, but like I said, it has to stay as a top priority there and keep, you know, we have no idea what fall will bring with COVID, whether we go backwards or not. You know, the need is still there for connectivity. You know, the last month, it seems we've had a lot of meetings. And every time there's someone on the meeting who's, you know, they're having difficulties. And it's a constant reminder that connectivity out there fails for a lot of people. And that causes everyone issues.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I suggest what we'll do is we'll take the approved plan and we'll rework it in such a way that we can easily track progress. And then you can look at what I'm envisioning to be a standardized tool and measure progress against your plan at each meeting. So we'll be able to just kind of tick boxes quickly on our end. So I don't see it as being very labor intensive on our part, actually reporting back to you, but we will make every effort to deliver on the priorities and then receive updates at your meetings with respect to how you'd like any other items prioritized. If we're not moving quickly enough on certain priorities or in certain areas based on what you're hearing in your communities, then we'll make some changes accordingly.
That sounds very good to me. I can't see anyone on the screen, but speak up if you agree or disagree.
One more comment, Mr. Chair. I could see how the column on activities would be fairly straightforward to report on. So that would be great to have that as a standalone item on each agenda. What I could see is the outcomes may require a bit more work. If we're trying to gauge, for example, the level of satisfaction of ISPs with our policies, the level of awareness of the public with our, various initiatives, I could see those requiring additional work just to be able to report on the outcome itself. And so I could see that being maybe on an, twice a year, or like I think that we might need to differentiate the tracking of activities and the tracking of the progress on each outcome.
Thank you for that. Further comments? No more discussion?
All right, so moving on to the final pillar, which is education. The first suggested outcome is that the public is aware of the current status of broadband access in Elgin and how they can become connected or improve their connection. The second suggested outcome is that the public has access to information that supports a clear understanding of the broadband landscape, both locally and provincially. And third and final outcome, that Elgin residents are aware and up to date on the county's efforts to advance local broadband expansion. So with that, we're open for comments and feedback on the last pillar of the suggested changes.
Floor is open for comments. Are we happy?
Mr. Chairman, just as I'm sitting here thinking about it, when you take a look at our map and I look and see what's happening in our communities, what I call the low hanging fruit is getting picked off pretty quick. Therefore, that when it's all over and done with, you know, if those, a lot of those people are being serviced, they don't have a problem anymore, so it's not their concern. And what is left over are the people that are in the outlying rural areas that maybe there's one person on a road or there isn't, it isn't economically viable for any ISP to service those people with the internet. Somehow or other, when we're going to advocate for funding from upper levels of government, I really think that we're going to have a broader base of people that are supporting us, and where I'm focusing, and I didn't hear anywhere in that presentation that I think that we as a committee are a pretty small group and a pretty small voice. I think that we're going to have to reach out to the people that do have a responsibility in the rural areas, such as the agricultural commodity groups, to be a lending voice to our applications to upper levels of government. And I think that this committee is probably at the point in time that we should be having open, honest conversations with different commodity groups, whether it be the Christian Farmers or the Federation of Agriculture or their parent bodies, or the commodity groups such as the Corn Farmers of Ontario and all those groups, just to see, is there any synergies that we can put together with those groups advocating on behalf of their members in rural areas that are struggling without any internet? Maybe we need to hear their perspective and certainly hopefully have their voices when we go forward looking for any type of funding.
That would be probably a valuable perspective. Yes, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor McPhail. I think this is a great opportunity to leverage our economic development department within the county as well, to partner and to identify, the Federation of Agriculture group, the commodities groups, but also to come up with some others that perhaps we haven't thought of and bring those forward as other key partners who might share in that collective advocacy effort. So we're happy to tap into the expertise within our team and bring back some more information.
Turn the Women's Institute loose on a mission. Eh?
They've done a lot.
That's what I mean,
Mhm.
And I mean, they've got a voice, and I mean, I think there's a lot of different groups outside of government that we have in this community that, we're at the point, we've got a kind of a plan laid out. We're at the point we can share that plan with other groups in Elgin County, and we can all start beating on the same drum.
I'm thinking some of the equipment operators, like, they have their association. We may think that sometimes they need more or less than what we think they need. I have a neighbor who milks cows with robots. I assumed he'd have a tremendous need, apparently not. It's sort of a surprise, so we may find that where, the need may not be as great, and then there may be other places where we've overlooked it completely. I think those are great ideas.
We just keep peeling back the onion at this committee. At some point in time, maybe we'll find nirvana in the middle.
Can't see the rest of the committee, but please speak up.
We're working on that tech issue, Mr. Chair.
Any comments, Justin?
There we go. That's okay.
There he is.
Not particularly. All sounds good to me so far.
Alrighty, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee, we can continue on with the presentation. The next slide is concerning the Building Broadband Faster Act 2021. It was discussed during the last committee meeting that it might be helpful to have a bit of a contextualization provided on the broader legislative framework surrounding these efforts and kind of the playing field within which we're trying to position ourselves. So just a brief overview of the BBFA 2021. The Government of Ontario has committed almost $4 billion to connect every region of Ontario to reliable high-speed internet by the end of 2025. In April of 2021, the Ontario Legislature passed the Supporting Broadband and Infrastructure Expansion Act 2021. A key outcome of this legislation was that it enacted the Building Broadband Faster Act, or BBFA. The main purpose of the BBFA is to expedite the delivery of broadband projects of provincial significance by removing barriers to building broadband projects. Since the introduction of the BBFA, the province has consistently identified the expectation that all partners involved in broadband deployment would work collaboratively to further reduce administrative barriers, support timely broadband deployment, and contain costs. Infrastructure Ontario led a new procurement process intended to connect the remaining underserved and unserved communities across the province in September 2021. The competitive process enables internet service providers, or ISPs, to bid for provincial subsidies through a series of reverse auction events for defined geographic areas and based upon requirements for high-speed internet infrastructure deployment. The request for qualifications was issued on September 9th, 2021, and the request for proposals was issued on November 30th, 2021. The following slide provides details of the RFP process. And these documents can be found on the Ministry of Infrastructure's website as well. And we also have, for background, a list of qualified ISPs provincially. And then next, we have a little bit of an overview of Ontario Connects, making high-speed internet accessible in every community. The following information is available on the province's infrastructure projects website. With the goal of ensuring everyone in Ontario has access to reliable high-speed internet and cellular connections at home, work, and in the community, the Ontario government is making an investment of nearly $4 billion to help connect all Ontarians to high-speed internet by the end of 2025. Building on Up to Speed, Ontario's Broadband and Cellular Action Plan, which is already starting to connect homes and businesses in communities across Ontario. There's a link there as well for further details on Up to Speed. Expanding access to high-speed internet as part of Ontario Up Onwards, Ontario's COVID-19 Action Plan for a People-Focused Government, which includes more than 30 projects that will change the way people and businesses interact with government. And finally, continuing to invest in high-speed internet and cellular initiatives and virtual learning as a funding partner while working closely with the telecommunications sector and other levels of government. And through those efforts on Building Ontario through the ontario.ca website, there is a map where you can browse key projects being built in your community. This is a sample of over 4,000 projects happening right now in Ontario, and projects are added to the map and updated on an ongoing basis. So it is possible to zoom in on Elgin County and see these works in progress.
Mr. Chairman, does that work that's going on there, does that include work that's being done by the big three, TELUS, Rogers, and Bell, what they're doing to their infrastructure and upgrading to 4G, 5G? Do we have any information on any of that, or do we have to find it out through the back door?
It's pretty limited. I would say it's at a high level on the infrastructure page, and our best place to find that information is through those service providers. And so to find out whether they do have any
Nothing.
any plans for change in our community, but hard to find out. There's often a lag between the work and updated mapping. So.
Well, it's just kind of frustrating in the fact that, you know, we can be really, really busy building a beaver dam that somebody else has already channeled the water somewhere else. And all our work is for naught. And it's, you know, if we could focus on the things that we really need to focus on but I don't know how how you ever get that information. And I don't know why I don't imagine that the province even has it.
Did we forget to get a mover and second to pass a resolution for the last one?
Just hearing that some can't see the presentation I was sharing, so I'm going to try to share it again. See why that's not working.
Bad connectivity.
Want to ask for confidence?
Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, it has switched. Thank you. And can you go in presentation mode on the PowerPoint? We'll just make it a little bit bigger, please.
It makes everyone else disappear.
That's okay. Okay. If it's better for those, I think. So what happens in our room when we go full presentation mode is that we are no longer able to see you on the big screen. So we encourage you to speak up because we won't see your hands.
Okay, I can manage. I don't know about others. I can manage without the presentation mode. I can just, I'll just move it to another screen, make it bigger. It's up to you, what your preference is.
I think it's easier to see the participants, Catherine. Thanks for your patience.
Are you finished doing? Should we adopt this one, then go back? Do you want to do it?
Sure. Yeah.
Might as well. Can we read the motion for this one, get a mover and seconder?
So we can move back to the connectivity advocacy plan.
Okay.
And the motion is resolved that the connectivity committee advocacy plan be approved and forwarded to Elgin County Council for their review and endorsement.
Mover and seconder, please. Thank you, Dominique. Okay, thank you, Justin. Moved and seconded. Please call the vote, Catherine.
Councillor Jiguer,
Yes,
Councillor McPhail,
Yes.
Justin Pennings,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Marks.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
All right, thank you for that. And move on to the next one, I guess, please.
So the next one is resolved that the report titled Building Broadband Faster Act 2021 Update from the Chief Administrative Officer be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Duncan, second by. Don't be shy. Dominique, thank
Pennings.
you. And okay, yeah, 3. Please call the vote.
Councillor Jiguer,
yes,
Councillor McPhail,
Yes.
Justin Pennings,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Marks.
Yes,
4-0, the motion is carried.
thank you for that. We're on to 6.2 SWIFT project update.
Yes. Well, just some really quick updates that I received from Barry Field at Swift. So you'll see the project Elgin 2 exec, which is North Hall, Eden Line, Talbot Line, Culford, is that Culford Road? The design is complete. Construction is scheduled to start very soon, August 1st. Which is a couple of months later than planned. But completion is still slated for December 31st, 2022. Still on schedule, but we'll report back with any changes to the project schedule there. The next SWIFT project taking place in Iona Station started in March and construction is underway. And it's scheduled for completion December 31st, 2022, currently on schedule. And then finally, the new Glasgow design is complete. Construction started in January of 2022, and that's scheduled for completion end of September of 2022. So some exciting project work happening in Elgin. We'll certainly include the information, images, and the provincial information, which was provided to the committee today as part of an appendix to your minutes, so that the public are aware of what's happening and can also peruse these documents at their leisure. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments? All right, and I'll be attending a SWIFT meeting on Friday. So maybe get more updates, but good.
Question is, what's the future of Swift?
Well, it's obvious they're not, they've realized they're not going to get any more funding, at least that's not on the radar. They are obligated to, is it 7 years? They have to look after these contracts and things. They're in wind down mode. I know that they've told their employees that, you know, and they've actually had some employees who have left if an opportunity has come by. They've reduced the number of board members. They took the public ones off and special interest ones. So it's kind of a wind down. So there'll be some updates this Friday, I assume.
So as we all understand it around the table, there really is it the Ministry of Infrastructure that has taken over this role in-house?
That is correct. And, you know, we just heard the reports on Swift in Elk County, and that's good news. We're getting some value there for. But if anyone was sitting around kitchen table waiting to get internet through Swift, this didn't even make a dent in Elk County. And so like, that's why this committee was formed. I think we realized that we need to get away. I think we figured out a lot of stuff. And that's why we need the province attention. Like, we can probably spend that money wiser than you can, but we, you know, we're waiting.
I know. The ASIP program, which we discussed at our last connectivity committee meeting, there is no indication of when an announcement is coming. Heard a couple rumors. One was supposed to be end of last week. One might be in advance of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference. Hard to say, but we are monitoring that very closely. And as soon as we receive any information, we'll certainly forward that on to the connectivity committee, and we'll be in conversations with the chair about whether the results of that announcement and the impacts on Elgin kind of warrant calling a meeting to discuss. So stay tuned for that.
And I think the Western Ontario wardens are still, it's on their radar. I know that they had still been meeting with the Eastern groups and stuff like that, but the provincial election is over and our term is winding down. There's going to be a gap for one. We have a motion. Can you see that?
Yes. Resolved that the report titled SWIFT Project Update from the Chief Administrative Officer be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Duncan,
Jennings,
thank you. Call the vote, please, Catherine.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Fail.
Yes.
Justin Pennings.
yes.
Deputy Warden Marks.
Yes,
4-0, the motion is carried.
very good, thank you. We are at other business. Does anyone have anything? Correspondence? Don't see any. We're at date of next meeting. Do we have a suggested date?
We should keep things moving. Staff are happy to support what the committee decides. We can work around internal vacation schedules in order to accommodate a meeting even next month if people are available. I know it's critically important to keep things moving.
The 17th of August, we'll be in Ottawa, coming back,
We're still there.
still there, so. The 24th of August. Does that fit anybody's schedule? That's just 5 weeks away. Dominic, you're shaking your head, yes? Justin?
Yeah, I'll make it work. I'm on vacation right now, actually.
Good man. So we'll tentatively go the 24th then? Okay.
That works. for us.
All right. We're at the point of adjournment. There's nothing further. I'll ask for a mover for adjournment.
I'll move.
Thank you.
Any seconds?
All right. All the votes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Justin Pennings,
Yes.
Mike Andrews, Deputy Warden Marks,
Yes.
5-0, the motion's carried.
All right. Mike has his hand up.
Okay, I think you did.
Oh, voting, okay. All right, as always, thank everyone for your attention and enjoy the rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you. Good afternoon.